Hey all, we're going to continue our function theme and go on to 2.2, which is about the graphs of functions. So if we remember from our first lesson that functions are when your x only has one y output. So we're going to determine if some of these key functions that we graph are functions. So y equals x squared, that's our parabola, our quadratic. And it passes that vertical line test, and every x value has only one y value. So yes, this is a function. Then let's do our cubic, which looks like that. Again, yes, every x value only has one y value. Then we have like the sideways parabola. And this one looks like this. And here, nope, this one does not pass that vertical line test, and each x value has two y values. So no, this is not a function. And then lastly, our circle. So again, does not pass that vertical line test, and every x value has two y values. So no, a circle is not a function. Alright, next we're going to be looking at this graph down here and answering A through G. So what are f of 0, f of 3 pi over 2, and f of 3 pi? So the f of 0, what's inside that parentheses there is your x value. So we're going to go to the x value of 0 on our graph and find its y value. So f of 0 equals the y value of 4. Then we have f of 3 pi over 2, and at 3 pi over 2, which is here, here, that's 3 pi over 2, the y value is 0. And then lastly, when f of 3 pi, so we're going to go to 3 pi, and it has a y value of -4. What is the domain of this function? So from where to where does this function lie? And it starts at an x value of 0 and goes to an x value of 4 pi. So we can write that as d x such that x, or not x, we're going to start at 0. 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 4 pi. The range is your y values of the function, and it lies from 4 to -4. So the range, x, such that -4 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 4. Next, we're going to list our intercepts. I'm going to go mark those as green for us. And that one up there. So our intercepts, we have the y-intercept of 0, 4. Then we have the x-intercepts. We have a few. The first one is pi over 2. The next one is 3 pi over 2. The next is 7 pi over 2. Or 5 pi over 2. Then 7 pi over 2. It will be very clear for you on the test, like what those values are. Alright, how many times does y equals 2 intersect the graph? So I'm going to graph y equals 2 here. And it intersects 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Then we have, for what value of x does f of x equal -4? So at which x value does y equal -4? So I'm going to plot those -4s and find their x values. So that's at pi, so x equals pi, and at 3 pi. For what value of x is f of x greater than 0? So where on this graph are we greater than 0? And that's all on this half. So we have from 0 to that pi over 2 is our first one. And then I'll go back to black. From 0 to pi over 2. Then we have 3 pi over 2 to 5 pi over 2. And then lastly, from 7 pi over 2 to 4 pi. Alright, so we're going to consider this function of x plus 1 over x plus 2. And first we're going to find the domain. So what in the denominator would we plug in for x to make that 0? And that's -2. So x such that x cannot equal -2. Is the point 1/1/2 on the graph? We can check by plugging that into our equation. So I'm going to plug in 1 for our x value. So 1 plus 1 over 1 plus 2. And that equals 2 over 3. And that does not equal 1/2, so no. And see, if x equals 2, what is f of x? So we're just going to plug 2 into our equation and solve. So 2 plus 1 over 2 plus 2, that's 3 over 4. So the point would be 2, 3 over 4. If f of x equals 2, what is x? So our y value is 2. So we're going to set our equation equal to 2. So x plus 1 over x plus 2 equals 2. I'm going to start by multiplying both sides by our denominator, x plus 2. We end up with x plus 1 equals 2x plus 4. And then I'm going to solve. And I'm going to subtract 4 to both sides and subtract x from both sides. So I would end up with -3 equals x. And so our point is -3, 2. What are the x-intercepts, if any? So if we remember, our x-intercept is when y equals 0. So I'm going to set this equation equal to 0 and solve. I'm going to start again by multiplying both sides by x plus 2. 0 times anything is 0. So x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 and we get x equals -1. So our x-intercept is -1, 0. And that's it for this lesson. Let me know if you have any questions.